Aloha! And welcome to the Blue Note Fan Report. I am Guy, the Hawaii Blues fan, and this is the only hockey variety show, and we are all about being by the fan, for the fan, and you gotta know about you, the fan! Thank you so much. This has been an amazing start of season 3. I mean, just absolutely amazing. I've had Jamal Mayers, Rich Zombo, and Scott Warman on. And with all of that, what did I go and do? I started a website. That's right, stlfanreport.com. And I started writing about hockey, and you know what? You guys actually seem to like it. I'm amazed. You guys are coming to the site. I'm making it better every single day. And the greatest thing about that site is it led to today. Today is December 30th, 2020, and it just happens to be my 52nd birthday. That's right. And on my 52nd birthday, I was able to reach out, and I got absolutely surprised when I got a response back telling this person telling me that they wanted to set this up today on my birthday and do this interview. So who is this person? Well, holy jumping, he hit the 9 of hearts on that one. Absolutely, that's correct. None other than NBC Sports, NHL Network, and St. Louis Blues color analyst, Darren Pang. Darren Pang graciously agreed to come on the Blue Note Fan Report, and we had a wonderful interview. You guys are going to absolutely enjoy this, so I'm not going to say any more. Please give a great, big, huge Blue Note Fan Report welcome to the one and only Mr. Darren Pang. Okay, Blue Note Fan Report land. I hope you are as excited as I am, because holy jumping, ain't that the 9 of hearts? He pulled it on his birthday. I have the one and only NHL Network, NBC Sports, St. Louis Blues TV between the glass analyst, Mr. Darren Pang. Panger, welcome and thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me, and a happy birthday to you as well, just before New Year's, huh? Good for you.
Yes, sir. I'm a tax baby. It was either he's coming out now or later, so you might as well get the tax break.
Well, sounds great, and it's great to be on the show, and I think it comes at a good time too, where we are now hopeful that everything runs as smoothly as it can, and my hat's off to the NHL and the Player Association, for putting this together and getting us excited about it again and getting playing, because that's what for me, that's what I do for a living, but it's my passion to go to hockey games and watch games, and for guys like you and fans all around the world, and you are a good example of that. I think they're going to be fired up and excited to see this season start up.
Yeah, it is. And I was thinking about this. I'm going to take this thing off here real quick.
Wow. What is that shirt you got there? What's that? Oh, that's a sweater and a half there.
Yeah, that's my brand new, my birthday present. My wife got it for me. It's the new military jersey. It has the year I retired from the Navy on it. And I have the hat to go with it. So that's what that is there. I appreciate you noticing that. Thank you so much, sir.
Boy, I should be interviewing you, to be honest with you.
Maybe someday. Maybe someday.
Well, I don't know, for what you've done for our country, and you and so many others, and you got your heart on your sleeve, and now you've got your the credentials on your sleeve too. Now it looks like.
Yes, sir.
That's great. What exactly does that say on the side?
On the side, this is a patch that says "I salute," and then you can put a name there. Right. Nice. And then it's got the American flag on it. And I have some of my service patches that my wife is going to sew on for me. And, like I have the other military jersey. I have my couple of my ships and service stations sewn onto that. So
that is great. Good stuff, buddy. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Thank you. And I was just about to say, you got to think about this. You're probably the most beloved Blackhawk in all of Blues.
That's, you know what? I think of all the things that not that I've personally done in my life, but I I'm so proud of the city of St. Louis and the way this has worked out. I'll be honest with you. I had no idea.
Yeah.
John Davidson was the one that really he did keep calling me, and he asked me, would you want to come to St. Louis? And he and I had worked one, two, at least a couple of Olympics and several Stanley Cup final together in one capacity or another. And I've always had a great deal of time for JD, and he's a dear friend. And I said, JD, I said, you know that I never played for the Blues, right? Like the only team I ever played for was the Blackhawks. And he said, don't kid yourself. You weren't that beep and good anyway. He said, and I the way he said it, I had to laugh too. And he basically said to me, you know what, you've been a longtime broadcaster. You did hundreds of games here in St. Louis in your old ESPN days. They know you as a broadcaster. Just come on in and give it a go. And so my wife and I came here. It was a great time in our lives. My daughter was finishing up her high school, but then she was likely to go to Mizzou.
Mhm.
And then my son was on a golf scholarship in Jersey, but then he switched and came to Mizzou. And we've just had the time of our lives. And nothing better than last year or 2019, being in that parade and having my daughter and my son-in-law, and she was just pregnant for my first granddaughter that I'm at their place now. And just, I mean, really lucky. I'll be honest with you, just lucky that the fans of St. Louis are what they are, and that this has worked out as great as it has worked out. Guy, this could be my 12th year with John Kelly in the booth, so I'm really proud of that for sure.
Yeah, you guys have a really good rapport in the booth. I was watching a video where you guys were. This was probably a while back because you called it the Scott Trade Center then, but you were playing golf on the Scott Trade Center and you were making putts, and then you guys went up to
That's right.
the second level and you were trying to putt from there. And I was going, man, wouldn't that be a better sandwich? You know, you just little quarter sandwich and get it right under the ball, get some spin on it, get it up in the air. When it hit that floor, man, at that backspin, it just take off and right into the hole.
Yeah, I forgot all about that. That was we did a ping pong thing there as well.
Yeah.
And I just saw John actually the other day, and we've been on a bunch of Zoom calls as well, just getting ready for the season. But it's funny that we're creatures of habit, and not going to the rink and not being able to see the players, not being able to go in the locker room.
Yeah.
I mean, that's our job, and that's what we get up in the morning and we get fired up to do that. And yesterday I did have a chance to see Robert Bortuzzo.
Mm-hmm.
We played. He's got a buddy that owns a pickleball court, so we were able to play pickleball against one another. So that was a lot of fun.
Well, I'm wondering how the weather is where you are today. I'm kind of guessing that it's not great because otherwise you'd be on the links and not talking to me.
Good point. I tried. You know what? I tried to look at and this is one of the reasons why so many. I've had a hard time committing to doing several of these, and when our weather's good, and I am in St. Louis. That's where I live full time. When it's 48 and a little bit of sun, I'm on the golf course. So and if that's the only opportunity I get, then I blow off everything else just to go out there and get some fresh air and go play. It's a little cooler. I mean, we're expecting a little bit of maybe a little light snow. It won't stay with us, but it's cool outside. It's windy and it's cold. Probably about 32 degrees. Not like where you are.
I don't want to make you jealous, but it's probably about 85 here, and the wind is light, and the sun's shining. It's been raining the last couple of days, so actually today's a kind of really nice day. So I'll get all my friends.
I should talk to Doug Armstrong about getting our minor league team right there. That'd be perfect. I could go there and be the announcer. That'd be great.
Well, you know what? If you ever do get out to Hawaii, please call me because we have a military course here that I will try and get you on. It's the same one that Obama golfed on a lot, the Kaneohe Bay Marine Corps course. They call it the poor man's Pebble Beach. No, I know you've probably been to Pebble Beach, but we've got a couple really nice holes along the beach and that. But it would be fun, and you could laugh at my golf game.
You're on the Big Island, right?
No, I'm on Oahu. I live actually.
On Oahu, okay.
Yes, sir. I live
on the Big
Island. I live just a stone's throw from Pearl Harbor.
Oh wow!
Yes,
December 7th.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, that's an island that intrigues me. I've been to Maui, but played Kapalua. but
Yeah.
I haven't been out to Hawaii for a few years.
Yeah,
Got to get back.
we got to get you out here during the summertime after the break and get you out here and we'll do a golf turn a golf. We'll take you on some of the courses out here. There's some good ones.
Some beautiful ones. Yeah, love it there. Love the people there. Great
Yeah.
people.
Well, I mean, and the reason I bring up golf is because you bring it up a lot when you're talking. There was, and I hope that you don't take offense to this, but there was a joke that your favorite hole was the 5th and the 6th because you had a 5-hole and a 6
And the 6-hole. Yeah. I probably am better on those holes than I am later on in the round. But my old teammate Doug Wilson, one time, he swore that the puck went up over my head and under the crossbar and in, and he came back and he just couldn't wait to say that. I think that was the 6-hole, and there was so that's actually, I've seen a couple nowadays with even the big goalies. They get down real low, get down on their knees, and the way that the curves on the stick, a lot of these pucks they can dip a little bit.
Yeah.
And I've seen big guys give up 6-hole goals as well. So thankfully, not just the little guys.
Not just, well, I mean, what's interesting is when you played, I mean, I think you were like the 2nd or 3rd smallest goalie that had ever played, but goalies weren't like they are now. I mean, for when you played 5'8", 5'9", 5'10", was the average size of a goalie. It's just within the last maybe 5-10 years that the 6'3" and above have been that. Usually those tall guys were defensemen or centermen. They weren't goalies. So it's a new trend in the sport. If I'm right.
No, you are right. It's when I was playing, goalies were, I mean, they were bigger than me. I'm the 2nd official smallest goalie in the NHL in the history, but a lot of guys were like 5'7", 5'8", 5'9". The Mike Vernons, the John Van Beesbrooks of the world that were such great goaltenders. So they were in that 5'8", 5'9" area. And, even prior to that, my hero was Rogie Vachon. I believe Rogie was about 5'7", 5'7.5", 5'8". And so, like, that's what you had in a goalie, a small, nimble, athletic goaltender that was quick and courageous. And now we've switched it all up. The 5'7" guys are these young, small defensemen like Samuel Girard and what have you. And now they want, now the goaltenders are all 6'5", 6'6", 6'7". There's been some GMs, and this kind of upsets me a little bit, but they'll walk around and say, well, we don't even look at a goalie unless he's 6'2" or 6'3". And I'm thinking that's number one, I think that's a wrong thing to say, because I think there's still exceptions.
Yeah.
And we have some really good goaltenders that are 5'10", 5'11", in the NHL. But that's the facts. They're looking at the bigger guys. But the good news is that smaller defensemen and smaller forwards are now getting the opportunity that they didn't get in my time, unless you were, Denny Savard and Yzerman and Sakic and I guess Marcel Dion. And I mean, look at Henri Richard recently passed away. I mean, these are, those were exceptional athletes, but on the smaller side. But then they got away from those small guys. So it has changed. It's evolved.
And it's nice to see that the game is evolving that way, and you're seeing a lot more. You're seeing the skill. You're seeing the guys that really know how to handle the puck. We have that on the Blues now. But I want to get back to you and your career a little bit. I read a stat that I thought was interesting, and I don't know if it's still, but at one point you held the record for most points by a goalie in the Blackhawks. Do you know if that's still a record?
It was in a season. It is.
In a season.
In my rookie year, I had 6 assists, and that was a rookie record for goaltenders, for a Blackhawk goaltender. Yeah. And then overall, that still has stayed true. Yeah. 6 assists in a year, which it amazes me, because I mean, Tony Esposito, all those times that he could have just stopped the puck and played it to Doug Wilson, and Doug Wilson went to somebody else. But anyway, that's kind of neat, because I golf a lot with Marty Brodeur. And Marty's, I mean, he's got 3 goals and one of the great puck handlers that the game has seen in net. And so we were talking about that, and he was actually surprised, because I only played really 2 years, 81 games, and I have 9 assists. And I said, how many did you have? And he goes, well, one playoff year I had 7. I'm like, oh, great. One playoff year he had 7 assists. So, but I mean, I think Grant Fuhr was probably he got the most amount of points. Yeah. He had 14 one year. Yeah. But Ron Hextall set the standard for me for puck handling. And I think we were all pretty inspired and awed by what Ron Hextall could do. And then it was Marty Marty Brodeur, Marty Turco was really good. So many guys that were so great at playing the puck.
Yeah, that's actually become at one point that was really not. I mean, goaltenders would go behind and just move it. They wouldn't really play it. Now that they play it a lot more. Allen, who's no longer with us, was a very good puck handler.
Very
Pretty
good.
good. He pretty good at getting the puck out of the neutral zone and that. And then we also had Cujo, who was very good at passing the puck.
Yeah, Cujo was similar to me in that he had to switch over to play the puck. So he wasn't a natural left-hander. He shot the puck right-handed. So his best attribute was switching it over, and then he could go to the backhand and flip it up high. I did the same thing. Then you had two choices. So he was really good at it. Jake Allen is really good at it. I think one of the reasons why these guys are so good at it is they have good hockey sense. Like when a puck gets dumped in, if you're just kind of a blocking goaltender and you don't have that agility or be a good skater, which most of them are, but you've got to be able to get to the puck first. Then you've got to be able to make a decision so you don't put your defenseman or make a bad error, because that'll end up in the net. And I think like Cujo has good hockey sense, that Jake Allen does as well. So these guys that I'm talking about are able to read the play, get out there, and then make a pass. And that could be, that's pretty good. Jordan Binnington is really good at the small areas. Binnington's a little different than Jake, and Binnington will kind of look off one way and then sauce a little backhander so his defenseman's not in trouble or going to get hit. So Jake was much better just getting that puck up the ice. Like he could rifle it off the boards and right through the neutral zone and get it down the ice rather quickly and hard. So real firm passer. But I've enjoyed watching Jordan Binnington play, especially from behind the goal line. I go to it. I think he's got real good hockey sense.
Yeah. I was watching on NHL Network, and you were doing a demonstration on the 2-pad stack and talking about Henrik Lundqvist too. While I had the moment, Henrik, everybody is thinking about you, and we hope that you're going to be okay. You and Jonathan Toews, and yes, I just said put my heart out to a Blackhawk.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, listen. Henrik Lundqvist has been iconic in New York City. He's a legend in Sweden. I can tell you firsthand, when I go into a locker room, when I go to Madison Square Garden, or if he's in another rink and I'm doing a game, he shows great respect for reporters, but especially for older goaltenders. He seems to know his history, and he gives you a lot of time. And I'm the same way. I feel bad that this is the way it ended, but at the same time, at least he didn't end up in a really critical situation somewhere. So he'll be well taken care of. And the other part of it is funny. I sent Jonathan Toews a text just to say, hey, listen, keep your head up. I mean, the NHL is a better league with Jonathan Toews in it. And I know that we go regionally, Blackhawks fans, Blues fans, whatever, teams. But hey, he's been a great player and a great leader, and nobody wants to see these guys not be able to play, especially when they're still in the prime of their careers.
Yeah, I have myself. I deal with chronic fatigue syndrome, so I kind of know what that feeling is, and so yeah, I don't wish that on anybody. I actually just wrote an article. I said I don't wish that on anybody, even the Blackhawks captain. Well, maybe as a joke. But you just brought up something really interesting that I want to talk to you about. The game in LA with Jay Bomeister. You and when you were on TV, and I didn't get to see it live. I got to see it replayed because I unfortunately the time didn't work for me. But you were visibly moved and emotional that entire time that was happening, even as the game was on pause before they announced it. Can you tell us a little bit about how that all went down in your mind and what you felt and what you were going through with Bomeister?
Well, this occurrence has happened a few times, and I remember watching the game in Detroit when they didn't know what happened, and Yuri Fisher had the same cardiac episode, and then Rich Peverly in Dallas, the same thing. So over the course of many years going by, we have our Fox Sports regional meetings in California, and the one thing they really stress to us is, number one, you're not a doctor. Number two, there's family members that are watching this game. Don't say too much. Number three, you are the conduit between, the information that's out there. You're the guy. And so I was between the benches. I saw more than I said. It scared me. I thought we lost them. And I'm watching the players. Their reaction was very emotional. And then, it happened to be the 2-day game of the father's trip,
Yeah.
so, you become close to them. And then I moved inside. So I was right in the hallway. It was actually in Anaheim at Honda Center. And I was in the hallway, which of course a broadcaster talks very loud.
Mhm.
Well, the parents are in the hallway and they're crying and players are crying, so you have to be cognizant of that. But at the same time, you're trying to deliver what you have. So I was lucky enough to get a couple of actually texts while I was on, just to give me information. Yes, he's on the gurney. He's going to the hospital. The ambulance got him. He gave thumbs up, or he winked at the guys or something, anything that I could give. So it was like, oof, those aren't things you train for, so it was emotional. And so tough one.
Yeah.
But
Have you
good.
had contact with him at
Good
all?
yeah, lots. And in fact, I text him every once in a while. We talked actually that night. Made me feel real good that I sent him a text, and he replied. He said, "Hey Panger, I'm doing really well." He says, "I got 141 texts." He goes, "I've never had 141 texts before." So his spirits were already up. He was kind of
Yeah.
like, "Hey, what's the big deal? I'm fine. I'm ready to play."
Yeah.
And so last year during the playoffs, actually, all us broadcasters did a Zoom call with him while he lives in Canmore, British Columbia, or in that area. And so we did a Zoom call, and he was great. And many people don't know Jay because he's so quiet and so unassuming. And a lot of times our fans in St. Louis were a little tough on him. They get tough on these big defensemen that are quiet. Eric Brewer was a guy that in my first couple of years being there, I was really surprised at how tough they were on him. And I think probably part of it came to the fact that he was traded for, he came in the trade for Chris Pronger, which not fair to compare anybody to Pronger. But Jay, like, they didn't know how much trouble he was going through with his hip, but I did. So if he was maybe turning and couldn't get to the puck, you don't make excuses for him because he doesn't need that, but you sure tell his side of the story. And I've always had a great admiration for Jay. And so, so again, and just another part of my job that's so much fun, and relationships with players and what they mean to me personally, and how you forge those relationships and then have that happen and see that person go through it and not be able to play again is very, very difficult.
Yeah. Well, I'm guessing that we've just had the Alexander Steen just retired due to back herniated disc in his back, and that and I guess I'm guessing you've had contact with him. How is he handling the retirement? And he just had the birth of his son too.
That's exactly right. His son Leon. I think he says a lot different than I do. When Steiner says it, he's got the accent, the Swedish sound to it. But doing very well, getting stronger every day. I just actually sent him a text this morning as well, and just to see how he's doing. I always check up with him just to see if he needs any help. He doesn't live very far from where I am in St. Louis, and his wife's doing well. So that guy's a very unique old school player. And again, another one of those guys where during the course of a game, I can find the little things that he does so well that you're not going to necessarily pick up, but it's the way he was taught with his father, the way he grew up in a National Hockey League locker room. He and Paul Stastny were two old pros that just did the little things really well, and they didn't cheat the game. But Alexander Steen, in my history of broadcasting, will go down as one of my all-time favorites. Favorite people off the ice, the ability to put his hand on your shoulder and say, "Panger, want to go get a glass of wine and have a bite to eat?" When you're on the road. And he's just like a lot of guys, they just get in their world and they do their thing. And I don't usually do that with the players, but with Steiner, it was always a special time when you just got to sit there and hot stove with him and talk hockey and talk players and talk, franchises and organizations. And he's got a real great mind. I think he's going to be a terrific general manager if he wants to be in the NHL.
Right. That's oh wow, man, that's amazing. That's a lot more than I expected. Thank you so much for that. Well, and you just kind of talked about your relationship with players, and you being an ex-player and a broadcaster, kind of in the media, put you in a unique position. So for you, when you're talking to players and you're trying to be media at the same time, how do you find that balance, or where is that balance?
Um, well, I think there is a good balance there. I think um, getting to know players more than just hockey is very, very important. Knowing what they like outside of hockey. A lot of guys gravitate more towards me, not because of, but I love golf. Um, they're on the road. They want to play golf. Half the guys send me a text and say, "Hey, we're here in this city. Is there any hookups here?" When we're in St. Louis and the guys want to play, I make sure that I help them out if they're not members at clubs or they can't get onto a club or whatever. So there's number one, you've got that relationship. So now they all want to talk about golf, or they want to talk about other things like that. So that's number one. But number two is you have to remember that, and I remembered this when I first made the NHL. I played in the minors for 3 years. I played in the Ontario Hockey League for 3. So I felt like I was ready and I felt like I was a pro, but you're not. When you're in the NHL, it is a tough business. It's like going to Harvard in the morning where you're going through video of their forecheck, their neutral zone positioning, their penalty kill, their power play, their like tendencies. You better be on. You're not showing up anymore with the foggy head. You're showing up and you're going right to class. And then when you get on that ice, you better be able to execute. So I'm trying to get to the point of being with these guys in the locker room. When you're there, you can't be all consuming, because they've already gone through that for an hour and a half before they hit the ice. And then they hit the ice, and you know which guys the coach is on them. You know which guys are, they're in a tough spot, and there was 37 clips of them turning the puck over and they're just beat up. Yeah. So you have to recognize when guys are down. And an old coach of mine in Ottawa with the 67th, Brian Kilray, a Hall of Famer, he had the most unique ability to, and you probably learned this in the Navy, like there's certain leaders that can do it different ways. But when you're a little down, you need somebody to pump you up. And maybe when you're full of malarkey a little bit, you need to be pounced down a little bit. That's okay, but to be more balanced. And so I think that I like to think that I go into a locker room and can lift the spirits of guys that need it, and maybe knocks down some guys that are a little cocky in a fun way. And then you get going with stories. And then I brought this for you because I know how much of a fan you are. So to give you an idea of what I kind of do. So this is a game. This was a playoff game last year against Vancouver. So my whole book that I have for a season is this here. So from the first part of the season, you want line combinations from the first part of the season, or changes, or whatever. And I don't even know what game that is, but it goes, the whole way. That's my season. It's my sort of hockey Bible where I can look back and I go, okay, well, did Mikkola and Bortuzzo ever play together this year? And I can go back and say, yeah, they played 14 times together, and it didn't work out. Because usually after the game, I write down notes. I try not to show some notes are, no, that just doesn't work. They just had no chemistry or what have you. So anyways, so that's my day. And then I put those notes together, and then I try to find a little story that somebody else wouldn't have, and then put it out there in the broadcast with John Kelly.
Yeah, the one thing I will say about you being between the benches, your glove is still perfect. I've seen you catch a few pucks. You still got that glove going.
Not perfect,
right?
But yeah, well, you got to be alert there. I got to tell you, you've got to be really sharp there. And the other part about being between the benches is, which I just love, is I've got a telestrator down there, so I can draw live on that. But I've got another monitor that's called an ISO monitor. So during the course of even the game going on, my program is in my telestrator, but my ISO monitor can be anything. And I can actually go back on a play if I think that hit the post or the knob of the goalie stick or, whatever. I can tell my producer, Tim Paps of Fox Sports, let's go back to that last play. I want to see it. So the guy in tape can roll back and I can see it. And now I can come back with it live if we get a commercial break. So I love being between them. I'm going to miss Alex Pietrangelo. He was very active with me between the benches. Always wanted to know what was going on. And if I said, oh, that went off someone's pants, he might come over and say, no, it didn't. It went off his stick. Like he always had that communication with me, which I've loved. I've loved my time or the relationship that we've had with Alex. So certainly I'll miss that. But I have a feeling that Torrey Krug, who's a real talker as well, has got great personality. I have a feeling that he can at least fill some of that void that will be lost with Petro.
Oh, I agree, and great. I mean, you're perfect. You're just segueing into what I wanted to talk about next. Let's so the season's about to start. Training camp will start on January 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
The guys are, from what I understand, most of the guys are already still in St. Louis and skating at Century.
Yep.
Actually, stop. I'm going to go back. I got to ask you about one thing first, right? The Winter Classic, you had a mic on, a camera on, you were doing an interview, and then all of a sudden you said, oops, stop. And you had Wayne Gretzky and Brett Hull coming down on you.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you remember
Yeah,
that?
that's right. Yeah, the Winter Classic. Yeah,
Yeah.
NHL Network mic'd me for it, and then it was. I've done that before. I used to do that all the time with the All-Star games, ESPN, and the NHL alumni. So I've had lots of experience doing it, and that was so much fun. I got to tell you, that Winter Classic. You weren't there, were you? Did you come down
No,
for it?
unfortunately, I did not get to go. I got to see that. I didn't get to see the Winter Classic I got to see live. The alumni game I didn't. I got to see it later that night. NHL Network didn't show it live.
Yeah, it was just so much fun, and perfect weather, perfect day. Blues wearing those beautiful sweaters, seeing so many of the greats, and I got to rekindle so many relationships as well. I hadn't seen a lot of guys on Chicago. There was actually a lot of guys that were on Chicago that played for the Blues as well. So there was a nice little mix of guys that have actually been in both organizations. But yeah, when you get going and you get going, you're like, oh, hold on, I gotta focus a little bit here, and then you got to try to make a save. And but I'll say this, and you open it up by talking about being a former Blackhawk, but I said to Kelly Chase at one point, I said, Chase, I don't know if I should play in this game. Like, it's not, I don't know. It just seems odd, but it was such maybe a once in a lifetime event. And he told me, he said, you better be playing. Like, you better play in this game. And I said, I'm a little concerned. Like, honest to goodness, they boo every Blackhawk player, and the actual response was so overwhelming that I said, wow, this is a very, very special place to play in. And to play in that game was really something I'll never forget. Just incredible for me and for my family as well. I had lots of people there, and lots of friends, and just outstanding. One of the great moments in my career.
Oh, well, thank you. And I'm sorry, I kind of went flip-flopped a little bit there. My mind, that happened, right? When you're doing this, sometimes you're on a thought, and then all of a sudden something pops in. But let's get back to this season now. The Blues are a little bit of a different team. You've lost Bouwmeester, you lost Allen, you've lost Pietrangelo, and Steen. You brought in Clifford, and now you bring in Mike Hoffman. And Hoffman, really, a lot of fans wanted him, and I did too, but hasn't shown that he's a Blues type of player. How do you think Hoffman's going to fit into this group?
I think he's going to fit in real well. A couple of us broadcasters, we get in a text thread, and Joe Vitale and I are friends of a couple of guys in Florida. And so Joe Vitale sent him a note, and this is what we typically do. Hey, what's this guy like? Is he a good guy? Does he fit in the room? Does he, is he a worker? You just try to get as much information as you can. And all reports are that Mike Hoffman is terrific. He loves the game. He's a student of the game. And as we know, it's rare to find those left-hand shots that like to play the right side, or at least on the power play, and that have a one-timer like he has. Vladdy's one of them, but we're not going to have Vladdy. We don't know Vladdy's status. So, and until they both are on the same team and healthy together, we don't know how it's going to work, but I have a feeling it's going to work just fine, because Mike Hoffman makes the Blues a better team. So if the bottom line is to add a player that you think is going to give you the best chance to win a Stanley Cup, I got to tell you, I think Doug Armstrong has done a magnificent job. He didn't know where Petro was going to end up. He didn't know how that was going to be. They're negotiating a deal, but who knows? Once you get to July 1, and so he signs Torrey Krug, which Torrey Krug wasn't replacing Alex Pietrangelo. One's a lefty, one's a righty. One's a great defender in Petro, one's a great offensive player in Torrey Krug. But if Petro was going to sign with the Blues, and you had Petro and Torrey Krug, doesn't that make you a better team? Makes
Oh
you,
yeah,
it makes you a better
absolutely.
team. Now, if it turns out that Petro ends up going to Vegas, but you know, I'd be concerned. I think if that wasn't an addition being made, if it was just status quo without Petro, but now it's not. I mean, it's Torrey Krug. Marco Scandella played real well last year.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's going to go on with Vince Dunn because he's a restricted free agent. He's got no arb rights, but who knows what's going to go on there. But then you had Mike Hoffman, Kyle Clifford. You lose Steen, but at this point, Steen has been such a great director of player personnel for these guys. Like Oscar Sundquist is going to have to, like play like he played in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Ivan Barbashev, the same thing. So many good young players: Jordan Kyrou, Sammy Blais, Mackenzie McEachran. So I think the cupboard's nice and stocked right here. Now it's up to some of those younger players that I just mentioned. They've got to pick up some big time slack, especially without having Alexander Steen in the locker room looking them in the eye and telling them to pick up their game, because that's where, that's what, I mean, great players like that, they do that best. And same with Jay Bomeister was another guy. Didn't say very much, but when he had to say something, he said it, and everybody listened. So you can't
Yeah,
replace those guys. You know that?
yeah. Jay Bomeister is going to be a huge miss. With the defensive pairings, there's been a couple different thought processes. A lot of people think Krug should be with Parayko and that Scandella should be with Falk. Now, I kind of think that the skill level between your first and second line might be a little too great, that you would switch Krug and Scandella, put Scandella with Parayko and Falk with Krug. I mean, do you
Well,
think
that's
that's
interesting that
crazy
you
or?
say that. No, and Torrey Krug and Justin Falk have played in world championships together as well. So there's a familiarity with them, both American-born players. So growing up and playing in international events together. So no, I think what you've said is going to happen. I mean, you saw my book; it
Yeah,
changes. You know,
yeah,
I think if you have a heavy matchup game, these are my thoughts. You have a heavy game you're playing Vegas or you're playing Colorado, as an example, and you want that matchup. You want that. We're on the road. We need to get our deep pairs on the fly on the ice against McKinnon. I think those games are where you'll see Mike Van Ryan, who runs the D for the Blues, and does a great job. I think that then you'll see a Scandella and Parayko tandem, and that way, that's your hard matchup. There's going to be certain games playing in the West where there's not going to be a need for a hard matchup, especially when you're on the road. So you might want to balance it out, and maybe that's where you get Parayko and Torrey Krug, Scandella and Falk, and then you get Bortuzzo and Dunn or Gunnarsson or Nico Mikkola. So a lot goes into this thought process. Like I was talking to Robert Bortuzzo yesterday about it. When we play against a team that's got a hard right-hand shot that plays the offside, like an Alex Ovechkin or Nate McKinnon, Robert Bortuzzo plays those games because on the penalty kill, that's where they line up, and he's a right D, and he's a great shot blocker, and he's courageous as all get up. So
yeah,
that's where that's where in certain games, like he's vital. He's maybe the most important player on the ice for the Blues that no one talks about in
yeah.
those games. So anyway, so that's what will happen. But I think you'll see a number of different variations here, and again, not knowing where Vince Dunn's future is. Is it here with the Blues? Is it somewhere else? Who knows with that? And will we see more Nico Mikkola? He's a big, lanky guy that's a good penalty killer as well. So I think there's some good challenges for the coaches here as they get set up.
Well, also you have, and I'm going to kill his last name, Pertovich, I think it is, Scott. I
Scott
mean,
Petrovic.
Petrovich.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean he's
Yeah.
right. Everybody seems to be really high on him, and with
Very
the
much
taxi
so.
squad, he could end up seeing some time.
That you're exactly right. He's a smaller player, slight, but unbelievable vision and hands. You don't win the Hobie Baker Award by not being able to play in a lot of different situations. So Scott Perunovich is I think he's got real good upside. I'll tell you that, and everybody's really excited about him. Especially, I think Keith Kachuk on the amateur side. Keith, spent a lot of time watching him, getting to know him, getting to know his family, and so a lot of people have invested. You invest a lot of time and effort and passion for certain players, and I know that. I mean, Perunovich, if it's not this year, it'll be next year, and he'll get certainly a big look, and maybe he slides in there and surprises everybody. This year, who the heck knows with COVID-19, with testing all the time. I mean, there's going to be some players that are in and out of it, and you're going to have everybody ready.
Yeah. Well, so let's bring to the big question mark. And unfortunately for the Blues, this is always a question mark, except for the last couple of years. Unfortunately, goal has become a question mark. And it's not Bennington. Well, it's Bennington a little bit because he did have a rough playoff. But now you have a completely untested backup in Husso. Have you been able to see Husso play on the minors? What can you tell us about Husso, or if you know anything about him?
Well, yeah, I've seen him for 4 straight training camps and the prospects camp in Traverse City for a couple of those years. First of all, there is an unknown with Ville Husso. I know throughout his career he's been a number one goaltender, or he shared time with Binnington a couple of years ago, and he was the one that was supposed to get recalled before Binnington, but he had a high ankle sprain. So for me, I'd like to see Ville Husso, put together a full, like, American Hockey League season, but that's a different time now. So being a backup goaltender, there's a different mentality to it. You have to have high-end energy. You have to be a rallying guy. You have to stay on the ice longer than anybody else. You have to make sure that your teammates absolutely adore you, because when you get in the net and it's the third game in 3 nights, and everybody's a little out of gas, they want to empty the tank for you. This is what these guys have done throughout their careers. The backup goal, the Ty Conklins, the Carter Huttons. I can go on and with the names, but it takes a special breed. And even last year and a half, I mean, Jake Allen endeared himself to his teammates so much that they didn't want to disappoint him. That's what Ville Husso. If I'm writing a book right now and it's got 6 pages, that's what it's going to be all about for Ville Husso. And this will be a big test for him, but he's got to do it. He's got to be the hardest worker, and he's got to, when he gets in that net, I'll tell you this technically, he's incredibly solid. He looks like, he looks like he was born with goalie pads on. He just has a great stance, a great position, great technique. But now this is the NHL, and so this will be a big test for him. So I don't know where it's going to go at this particular point, but I do think that his upside is good. Everybody's seen him trending in the right direction, and we're going to need 20 points from him. That's just the facts. In a 56-game season, he's got to get points. He's got to get 10 wins, and that's a lot of wins to get for a young goaltender.
I'm kind of wondering if maybe, that with this shortened season and, playing almost every other night, that you might see goaltenders playing more 50-50 than 70-30.
Yeah, I would think with the Blues, no. I would think, I think 70-30 with the Blues is a good number. Yeah. I mean, the only way it's not is if for some reason Jordan Binnington's game doesn't get to where it was, during the regular season last year, and obviously this playoff run, because I believe that it was an aberration during the bubble hockey, return. But again, that's goaltending. I mean, we've all been through it, where you're riding high and everything's good, and then it doesn't go well, and you got to get yourself going again. You got to get back on the tracks really quickly, and so this will be a real big growing year for Jordan Binnington. But I've got no qualms that he's your 70% of the games guy, and he's your number one goaltender, and your backup goaltender is going to be 30%. I believe that's the way I would go, but the schedule will determine that as well.
You're just, it's just amazing to talk to you, and your information you're coming out is super. I want to talk to you a little bit. I'm going to go back a little bit and talk about how you became a goalie. How did you get, where were you from? Usually this is my first question, but you were such a special person, I forgot to ask my first question. How did you get into hockey? How did you become a goalie? Where you grew up as a kid and that?
I grew up in Ottawa, Nepean, Ontario, and at an early age, I just loved playing hockey. I loved playing forward. I was always on the outdoor rink, hours and hours and hours and hours, until my feet were killing me. And I never really wanted to be a goalie. I played forward, and I played forward in lacrosse. I played box lacrosse and scored goals and set up goals. And I wanted to be the greatest forward hockey player ever, And then we had a goalie injury or something happened, and my dad had played. He played a lot of hockey growing up, and he was a goalie. And he just asked me. He called me Joe. My parents both called me Joe. A long story. And I remember him like it was yesterday. Hey Joe, you want to give it a try and put on the goalie pads for the next game? And I put on the pads, and funny because all the pads were all brown and everything like that, but my pads were blue, red, and white. They were Montreal Canadiens pads, which is my favorite team. And next thing you know, they couldn't get me out of the net. I caught lots of pucks. I had quick hands, and they're like, man, this guy, like I was 6 years old playing on a travel team, and I couldn't get out of the net. I just kept, as you move into different levels, I was lucky enough. I was the top goalie in Ottawa, and I just kept, going forward. So I could never get back to playing forward, but I always played forward on the outdoor rink, even till the time I was 20 years old. I just loved going out in the rink and playing. But so that's really what happened. I played with many great players growing up at a very early age. I played with a guy named Doug Smith, who was the second overall pick to the LA Kings. Then the next year I played with Danny Quinn, who was the 13th overall pick to the Calgary Flames. So you're thinking of 6, 7, 8, 9 years old. And then when I was 14, I played with Steve Yzerman, and he was the 4th overall pick of the Red Wings. And we know of his great career and great person he is. So, so I got to play with great players, and all along, won a lot of championships along the way, and it's great memories. I tell you that, really unbelievable memories growing up in Ottawa. And if people have never been there during the winter, the Rideau Canal, you could skate 5.5 kilometers. It's got hot chocolate stands, and it's just a phenomenal city to grow up in.
Wow, that's cool. I mean, I grew up in St. Louis, so we didn't have all that fun stuff. But so
Mississippi.
Yeah, well, the Mississippi rarely freezes over every now and then. Yeah. But so I got to ask you about this: the playoffs, the Blues finally winning the cup. Unfortunately, the games go on. The conference finals and the finals go on NBC, so you kind of don't get to call the games. But were you able to be at the rink or with the Blues during all of that?
Yes, all of that. I left in the second round to go to NHL Network, which I normally do. And then in the third round, I did NHL Westwood One Radio, which I generally do in the conference final, but usually I'm in the East. But they were kind enough to send me to the West, so I was able to do the Sharks and the Blues series. And at the same time, I did pregame and postgame shows for Fox Sports Midwest. Okay. So I was fully, I was with them the entire way, which was unbelievable. When they did win the Stanley Cup, Bernie Federko, John Kelly, and myself traveled with the team, and we did a very small pregame show. It was mostly just a postgame show, yeah. And then we were so lucky to be able to be on that plane going back with the team. The team never wavered from what they did during the regular season, which I give them a lot of credit.
Panger, sorry to disturb you, but we just lost your camera there for a second. Okay, you're back.
Oh, there
now.
We go.
Sorry about that, sir.
You're going to love that. That was Ryan O'Reilly calling me. There's your scoop today right there, the captain.
Well, hey, bring him on. Yeah. I'm dying to get a player.
Yeah, I know. He's going to be a good captain for sure. Yeah. But we were able to fly back with the team and be in the locker room when they won. And winning at home would have been something else in Game 6. Selfishly, a lot of us got on that plane, and we were so confident. They had such a feeling of, okay, let's go to Boston and win this. But when they end up winning, and we got to travel back with the team and just watch them, that's a remarkable, selfish experience. I got to tell you, is more than I ever thought it was going to be. Other than, you dream about winning as a player, you dream about winning, then maybe you're being a coach, or maybe you're going to be a manager. I never thought in a million years that being a broadcaster would give me such incredible joy, and it did. So it was fantastic.
Yeah, I would have killed to been at that parade. I would have absolutely killed to been at that parade. Unfortunately,
yeah, the parade was something else.
I did get to go to Game 3 though. I did get to go to Game 3.
Oh, nice.
And while everyone goes, "Oh, you got to see the bad one," I don't care. I got to see the first Stanley Cup game in St. Louis in 49 years, and every moment of it was an absolute joy. Win, lose, or draw.
Yeah, That's for sure. The experience was great, wasn't it?
Oh yeah,
What they did on the jumbotron, how they started that off with we're here, or we're
yeah,
back,
yeah.
with
We're
Chaser,
still
and then
here.
the
Yeah,
alumni, and then the captains, and then Bob Plager, and like I thought they did a phenomenal job. I thought, in fact, they might have done too good of a job. People were so pumped up at the very beginning of that, and it was so emotional. They were sky high at the very beginning, but the other team would go, okay, let's get on them here. And the Blues actually didn't play their greatest hockey on home ice,
yeah.
which unfortunate, but heck, they won on the road in Game 7 in Boston. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, this series, the whole series to me, I mean, was a very, very good, hard-fought series, and it was
Yes, it was.
it was a joy to watch. Even when the Blues lost the games they lost, it was still a very joy to be there and to see it and to deal with all of that. So one of the last things I want to talk to you about, the Blues have moved to the West, and some people are upset about the 9:30 starts and the things like that. There have been tweets that say, the NHL is going to work on it, but then they come out with the very first game that's on NBC and it's a 9:30 start.
Yeah.
How do you think that they're going to mitigate those starts, or have you heard anything about that?
Well, I think there is a reason why we haven't, been subjected to the official starts other than, what they've announced so far. So, I do believe that the NHL understands, even though people might disagree with it, you know, though I think they'll try to accommodate the starts a little bit better because there's no fans and you can play games earlier. Once you get agreement with everybody, then you could do that. Um, but there's going to be some 9:30 starts. There's going to be some 9 o'clock starts, and it's going to stink. And I'm disappointed for our fans. I think that a great market like St. Louis, that's one of the highest rated local. We're the highest rated on our Fox Sports, and we're top 5 in the entire league on the regional side. And there's a reason why NBC started in the last 5 years, to knock it on the door and take in more of our games from us locally on Fox Sports Midwest, because the people will watch. So it's almost like, okay, we got St. Louis, they're in the West. Well, people will watch, and they will watch.
Yeah.
There's some complaints. I've heard them all. I walk down the street, I hear them. So it's not like I'm immune to it.
Yeah.
I feel terrible for the fans, and I'll be honest with you, it's no fun broadcasting the game at 9:30 local time either, and you're finishing up and it's midnight or 1 o'clock. But what are we going to do? I mean, we're in a very unique time right here, and I do believe at this particular point we just got to not shut our mouths, but let's just go with it. Let's just enjoy it. And I know it stinks for the time, but if that's the worst thing, those are champagne problems for me at this time when people are dying of COVID and people are having a hard time and businesses are being run down. I think the sport is sport. It's supposed to be fun, and I hope that the fans stay up, have another cold one, maybe an extra 1.5 cold ones there,
Yeah.
hang in there to the very end, or maybe you fall asleep, you tape the game, and you watch it the next morning. That's okay.
Yeah, I have to watch them on NHL.tv being out here, and I do get most of the Fox Sports Midwest feeds, which is great too. So I'm able to see you. Now I know during the playoffs, you guys were not with the team. You had to broadcast from Centurion Center. That must have been kind of difficult because you're. But did you have the same type of monitor? You talked about having that one monitor where you can move things around, or did you have the same feed that everybody else had?
Well, we were actually at Channel 9 downtown. The
Oh, okay.
radio, they did theirs at
Century.
Centene at a little studio that was there. We had a good setup. We had a really good setup. We had an incredibly large screen. I bet it was 90 inches. Then I had two 70-inch screens as well. John Kelly as well. His more on the play-by-play side. It was harder for probably the play-by-play guy. We're going to be more difficult this time around. That was a world feed that they had in the bubble in Toronto and in Edmonton. World feed meaning that you had a national producer director, and they were trying to be balanced 50-50 with what they showed. And that was still difficult because we still didn't know exactly what was going to be shown right away. I usually ask for, I asked for my replays. We have a sequence. I'm talking to my producer on a talkback button the whole time, and I get the replays that I'm looking for. Or if he's got something better than I thought, but we're all on the same page. We're talking all the time. the challenge is going to be when the St. Louis Blues go out and play in Colorado, and their producer director and their play-by-play and their color commentator, they're dictating the feed that you're going to get for the most part. So I think our fans are probably going to be a little bit upset of the fact that we don't have full control of that. That's going to be one of the main challenges. So I ask our fans, it's not our doing all the time. We're kind of have to talk about what's in front of us. And for the most part, when the Blues are on the road, it will be pro visiting team. And we'll try to do our best with our one camera that we have there. But it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be the same. It's not going to be as neutral as it was for the playoffs in the bubbles.
So you're not going to be traveling with the team? You're going to be in the studio?
No, broadcasters will not be traveling with the team during this time. Only the 55, whatever they say that a team can fly with. At the very beginning, anyway. Maybe as we get going, that there's hopes that we do travel or are able to travel a little later on. Mm-hmm. That's our hope. But we'll be doing the home games from the arena. Mm-hmm. And we'll have our home games will be our home games.
Okay.
And they'll be just like they normally are. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. And that was something that I didn't know. I thought you guys would be traveling with the team. So that's interesting. So I've taken a lot of your time, Panger, and I'm thrilled that to finally get to
I got to get to babysitting.
Yeah. Well,
they don't pay. They don't pay very much, but I got to go back, get back to Charlie a little bit.
Yeah, well, last question, and then we'll let you go. The Urban Chestnut Panger Award.
Yep.
How do you determine?
Hang on a second. There we go. My little granddaughter likes playing.
Oh,
there we go.
So how do you determine who gets that award each week?
I determine it by who I felt was impactful. Not by most of the time, not by stats, not by numbers. But I mean, if Vladimir Tarasenko had 4 goals and 4 assists in 2 games, and they're game winner. I mean, it's a no-brainer. If Jordan Binnington had 3 shutouts, or those are no-brainer ones. Sometimes it's more difficult because it could only play 2 games and have 2 losses, and maybe guys didn't play well. But like I would lean more towards, in years past, I leaned towards Ryan Reeves' line, Scotty Upshall with Brodziak. There's many different elements. I might lean towards a grunt guy that blocked 17 shots, and even though the team didn't win, I thought he laid it out on the line. I tend to lean more towards those guys, to be honest with you. Or if I know somebody's going through a tough time, or maybe it's a personal thing. Maybe he's got his family in town, and there's always little things that I try to put together to make it as special as I can, because I love it, and I love that Urban Chestnut has been such a big friend of mine. And if you're ever back in St. Louis, you know where it is in the Grove, and they've got some great Pilsners, and it's a great spot, and they love their hockey, that's for sure.
Well, I'm hoping to get back soon. When they decide to let fans back in, I do want to try and get at least 2 St. Louis to be in that, if not get in the game, but to be in that arena or there for this season. I don't know if that's going to happen. Panger, I just want to say thank you so much. I know you're a busy man. I appreciate you taking some time out for me, for my show here, for the Blue Note Fan Report. And I just got to say again, thank you so much. And this is Guy, the Hawaii Blues fan, saying aloha, mahalo, and Panger, I definitely know that I'm bleeding blue with you, and I hope to see you again on the Blue Note Fan Report. Aloha, Pang.
Aloha. Guy, thank you for having me, pal. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Brett, I'm sorry, man. I'm just in freaking awe. I'm in awe. I've done some good interviews before, and I've had some good interviewees, but to get a legend, royalty, and that was a freaking great interview, wasn't it?
It was good fun. I'm happy to be a part of it. It was great. And on your birthday?
Oh, I know. Think about that. This is my 52nd birthday. You know what I need? I need a drink.
Okay.
That's what I need, and here we go. I got an old-fashioned. take a little drink of my old fashioned. Go ahead and set that back down for me. And Darren Pang was such an amazing guy. He talked about so many different things, and he was so personable and so fun. And think about it. During the middle of the interview, Ryan O'Reilly calls him. Oh, I texted this guy. He acts like he's texting these guys like it's no big deal. You know, oh, I texted this guy. I texted this guy. I would love to have his Rolodex, you know.
Oh man, I bet he has a bunch of the Blues players and even past Blues players on his contacts. Yes.
Yeah, his contact list must be amazing. But then again, you've seen my contact list a couple of times, so it's not that bad. Well, guys, this is so much fun. I know Brett. Brett is a producer. He sat over there, and he's smiling, and he's yakking me up. Look at the camera. Eye contact. Look at the camera. Stop biting your tongue. Bring up your tongue and hockey. Yeah. But you know what, Brett? I'm sorry, but I love you. And that was, guys, that's Brett's job. And Brett, you were doing a wonderful job, and that's why I'm bringing you on for the outros, because you see everything from the background. I want to know what your impression of this interview was.
I thought it was a great interview, you know, like getting better and better and better, and these interviews are just so much fun to be a part of, and I love watching your progression and your passion. You know, that's why I come out here and wake up at 6 in the morning and drive, 30 minutes away, because I think it's just super fun to be a part of. It's super cool, and to watch, you just be able to interview all these St. Louis Blues alumni and folks that are involved in the organization. I know I don't have that kind of pull and that kind of swing and those connections. So, just knowing someone and being out here in Hawaii, 4,000 miles away, it just makes me feel like, being back home, and definitely makes me less homesick for sure.
Oh, no, you're right. It does, and it was just fun talking with Darren, and the interviews we had. Rick Zombo was a lot of fun too. Just talking and getting things out and having fun with it. And I just want to thank you for taking your time out, for being the producer, for helping out. This has just been amazing, guys. I just got to tell you, thank you so much. And if you've never seen the Blue Note Fan Report before, you don't know what you're missing. Check it out. Check out STL Fan Report. And this is Guy, the Hawaii Blues fan.
And Brett, the collector. And everybody, take a second to admire this beautiful jersey that Guy is wearing, and the hat to match. His fit it's on point. And check out my shirt, Brett Hall. Yeah, good stuff.
See, now I don't know if they got, I lost my mic, but they get a little bit of twerking from me. Don't worry about it, man. Well, you can plug me back in here. Woohoo! Hey! Plug the mic in. Don't touch the other things down there. You got the mic in? Now I can hear. Okay. So this is, now I'm going to say it again. This is Guy, the Hawaii Blues fan.
And Brett, the collector.
And we are, wait a minute, we forgot something. What do the boys say?
Let's go Blues!
Blues!
Let's go
Blues!
Let's go
Blues! This is Guy, the Hawaii Blues fan. And you got to know that I am bleeding blue with you. And I cannot wait to see you on the next Blue Note Fan Report. Please like us, subscribe, and let's have a little bit of Jeremy the organist play us out. Aloha!